On the 1st of July 2020, Russians voted for the amendments to the main law of the country, the Constitution. Today I want to talk about the amendment to the Article 67, which says, Russia honors the memory of the defenders of the fatherland, defends the historical truth, does not allow its falsification, and diminishes of the significance of the people's heroic deeds. By all means, for Russians, the memory of the great victory won over the worst enemy, fascism, is sacred as well. It is not an accident that now enemies of Russians are trying in the most vile ways to take away from them the victory in the Great Patriotic War, or World War II, their accomplishments and conquests. Who controls the past controls the future, wrote George Orwell in his book 1984. Who controls the present controls the past, he added. The resolution adopted by the European Parliament on September 19, 2019, expressed a dangerous view on historical event. The Second World War, the most destructive war in European history, it says, began as an immediate result of the Nazi-Soviet Non-Aggression Pact, signed on August 23, 1939. It surely is not the whole truth, but it is a clear attempt to control the past. I'll try to show it to you with the help of the documentary film Why We Fight, a series of 7 parts commissioned by the United States government and produced by the War Department during World War II from 1942 to 1945. Plus, I will use parts of the interview of Andrei Sorokin, director of the Russian State Archive of Socio-Political History. We stopped with a statement by European Parliament in its resolution that the World War II started right after signing of the Nazi-Soviet Non-Aggression Pact. Let's listen what Americans thought about it in 1942.
Remember that date, September 18, 1931, a date we should remember as well as December 7, 1941. For on that date, in 1931, the war we are now fighting began.
As you see from the American point of view, the war started in 1931 with the Manchuria occupation by Japan. Mussolini conquered Ethiopia, but the League of Nations didn't impose sanctions on these countries.
Hitler had seen Hirohito grab off Manchuria and other territory from the Chinese. He had watched Mussolini get away with the rape of Ethiopia. He had seen the democratic world look the other way while these illegal aggressions were going on. And he smiled. For collective action to enforce peace, the only weapon he had to fear, had broken down.
But let's go back to the pact. If you search on Google today for what countries had non-aggression pacts with Hitler, you won't get information rather than Nazi-Soviet one. But I managed to find some names, and I don't know if this list is full. 1933, Germany, UK, France, Italy. The Four Powers Pact, it's an agreement of understanding and cooperation. 1934, so-called Pulsitsky Pact, Non-Aggression Pact, Germany and Poland. 1935, Anglo-German Naval Agreement. 1938, September, Germany signed Non-Aggression Pact with Britain. 1938, December, Non-Aggression Pact with France. 1939, March, Germany signed Economical Treaty with Romania. 1939, also in March, Non-Aggression Pact with Lithuania. 1939, May, Non-Aggression Pact with Denmark. 1939, June, Non-Aggression Pact with Estonia. 1939, July, Non-Aggression Pact with Latvia. 1939, August, only after all these well-respected European countries, the Soviet Union signed the Non-Aggression Pact with Germany. It was the last in that line. By the way, Stalin didn't meet with Hitler, while the Western countries' leaders did. According to Andrei Sorokin, director of the Russian State Archive of Socio-Political History, the main factor that ensured the creation of conditions for Hitler to fulfill his plans was the policy of appeasing the aggressor, pursued by Great Britain and France. The USSR has no relation to authorship of it. The Soviet Union called to collective security, and not once in the League of Nations.
Foreign Minister Maxim Litvinov announced that Russia stood ready to back concerted action against Germany. But once again, there was to be no concerted action.
Why did Stalin sign the pact? The pact, in the opinion of the Soviet leadership, was designed to postpone the timing of the military conflict with Germany, evidence of which no one doubts. Stalin agreed to conclude a similar document, as many European countries did, only when it became clear to him that collective security remained an unachievable goal. Also because the USSR did not receive any intelligible proposals from Great Britain and France during the negotiations in 1939. And the strongest blow to collective security was dealt a year earlier at the talks in Munich, which were aptly called the Munich Conspiracy. In September 1938, Germany, Italy, Great Britain, and France signed an agreement on the transfer of Germany to the Sudetenland, which was part of Czechoslovakia. Confronted with the fact, the president of Czechoslovakia banished and then forced him to accept it. The Soviet Union was isolated from participating in the settlement of this situation, although it was linked to the country by a treaty of military assistance. Stalin confirmed his readiness to help Czechoslovakia if France, which was another party of this agreement, would do the same, and Poland would let Soviet troops through the territory. France did not confirm its readiness to implement these agreements, and Poland refused to let in Soviet troops. As a result, the partition of Czechoslovakia was authorized, sanctioned not only by Great Britain and France, but also by US President Roosevelt, who approved the decisions taken. Poland and Hungary shamelessly used the situation and took part in the division of the territory of an independent state. It is no coincidence that later, at a meeting of the Nuremberg Tribunal, Goering, referring to the judges from Great Britain and France, would say, "It was you who untied our hands in Munich, gentlemen." Receiving Sudetenland, Hitler not only got 3 million ethnic Germans, but the agreement handed him 66% of Czechoslovakia's coal, 70% of its iron, and still 70% of its electric power. After the whole situation with the Munich Agreement and so-called negotiations with no proposals from Great Britain and France, Stalin agreed to conclude a non-aggression pact with Germany to ensure the security of the USSR, in the same way as other actors of the international political process did earlier. By that time, Hitler's geostrategic doctrine had long been formed. Moving east to expand living space had been programmed. The plan of attack on Poland was approved in April 1939. All these non-aggression pacts only provided Hitler the most comfortable conditions for the realization of his plans, which he would realize anyway.